Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. I'm super excited to be with you today for the June Fireside Chat. For those of you who are new to Fireside Chat, we have been doing this for a couple years now, every first Thursday at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Get your money questions answered. You can drop your money questions in the comments, or if you prefer to be anonymous, you can fill out the form right there at the bottom of your screen. For those of you who are on Clubhouse, I'm not sure. But for those of you who are watching, you can fill out the form at the bottom of your screen and you can ask a question and I won't use your name. Well, I guess for those of you on Clubhouse, I can just tell you the link. It's jjclink.com/askjj. All right. So I've got a couple of questions already in the queue. And so if you've got one, add it in, or you can drop it in the comments. When I finish answering one question, then I'll take a look at the comments. All right. All right. So first thing we're going to do for today, though, I've got a challenge for folks. Let me take that one down there. All right. I am wearing a special shirt today. Today I am celebrating the crossing over of my son being large enough and me having lost enough baby weight to wear each other's clothes. That's right, y'all. This was my son's shirt that I bought for him, and he put it in the giveaway pile. And I was like, we're not giving that away. So if you know what this shirt is, the first 3 people to comment with the meaning of my shirt, you, with your Cash App cash tag, you will get at least a $10 or more blessing tonight. So go ahead and spread the word that JJ Conway is giving away money. Y'all know I'm frugal. I was about to say cheap, but you know I'm not cheap. I'm frugal. So you know I don't do that very often. Go ahead and get a friend to come on in. All right, but let's go ahead and answer your money questions. For those of you who are on Clubhouse and you'd like to actually see me live so you can jump in on this contest and figure out what this shirt means, then you can go to facebook.com/drjj Conway. That's my we updated my Facebook. All right, let me pull up the questions. All right, let me pull up the questions that we have today. All right, first question out the gate. Now, this is interesting because I get this question every so often, and it's a fantastic question because one of the things that I help people do is I help people not only get out of debt, but also build wealth. And one of the things that I most love as a trained financial planner is to help people establish legacy plans and generational legacy transfer. This is not a generational legacy transfer question, but what this person wants to do is transition to full-time coaching so that they can have more time for their children and more time to create the memories that they want and to live life on their terms. I am all about you living life on your terms. Of course, for me, living life on my terms means having more time to attend to my family and attend to the ministry, right? So that's my goal. That's what I want to do. All right. So, let's talk about this. This person wants to succeed at replacing their full-time career by becoming a coach. And so, regardless of what kind of coach that you want to be, there are several things that are wise financially to do in launching this kind of business. And personally, I think now is a great time to become a coach, a financial coach, relationship coach, parenting coach, all kinds of coaches. Now, I'm not sure I would throw my hat out there as a life coach because that doesn't really mean a lot to a lot of people right now. Because a lot of times people are finding that in our time of COVID, those who are calling themselves life coaches, they are more like people who haven't succeeded at life and they want to tell you how to live your life. I'm sorry, that's not nice. That's not nice. I don't know a nicer way to say it. Okay, so you can be a very good life coach. I just might recommend you don't use that title. Okay, maybe executive coach or coach to your ideal audience. But there's a couple of things that you will want to do to help you succeed as a coach. And the very first thing that I'm going to recommend is don't go into debt to become a coach. There is enough information out there on proper coaching strategies that you don't need to go into debt to learn how to be a coach. Now, I know that some of the more professional programs have a cost. I'm certified with the John Maxwell team. Okay. There are other ways to get certified. You can go through ICF, which is a more intensive program than John Maxwell. It's also more costly, but it's worldwide recognized. Okay. So there are different ways there are different ways to get certified, but I want to encourage you, don't go into debt over it, because if you are good at listening to people and you are good at asking questions, you can become a coach with very, very little training. All right. Now, the only other thing I would say on this real quick from a financial standpoint is please, please, please remember that a coach is not the same as a mentor. A mentor is someone who's done what you want to do and you're paying them or somehow engaging them to shorten your learning curve and help you learn how to do it faster. A coach is somebody who's drawing the answers out of their client. The client already has the answers in them. And even if the answers they come up with aren't the best answers, the process of them coming up with those answers actually improves their problem solving ability, their cognitive ability, and their ability to think strategically. That you might remember Napoleon Hill said that one of the characteristics of people who are poor, they make decisions according to their present circumstances and conditions, but wealthy people make their decisions based on the desires and the strategic intent of their heart. All right. Okay. So the next thing that I would want to say about being a coach is please, 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 in this day and age, if you want to replace your income by being a coach, you need to find coaches that are successful at what they're doing and understand what they're doing. And you really, really want to understand your audience. And that's something that I've struggled with at times because I thought my audience was me. Like that's what most people tell you, right? When you get into business for yourself, who is your primary client? You 5 years ago, you 10 years ago. Okay. Well, when you sit down and do your DISC personality or MBTI or True Colors or any of the other ones that I'm certified in and can help you with, I tell you what, if you're like me, you're going to find out you're not enough of the population to build a business on. So I had to stop trying to build a business for me and start trying to build a business for the bulk of the population because that's how I was going to make my money. Okay. And Linda's got a really good guess there, but it is not the right guess yet. Oh my goodness. All right. Get some friends, y'all. Somebody knows what this shirt means. And I was floored the other day because and I'm trying to keep a balance here. Like I want you to see the shirt, but I also want to have good Zoom etiquette, right? I actually saw this on somebody's car the other day and I'm like, I'm in Stephenville, Texas. Population is like 15, 20,000. I was not expecting to see this on somebody's car. All right. So let's go on to the next question. I know that was a roundabout answer, but I think I gave the high points. 1, don't go into debt. 2, find somebody that knows what they're doing and model them. And then 3, make sure you know what your audience needs. Don't just assume it's what you need. Okay. And especially if you want to be a financial coach, let me tell you right now, avoid the whole I'm so perfect with money, you need to listen to me. Because I'm going to tell you, I got a lot more clients paying me financial coaching after I ended up in $845,000 of debt than before when I got into all that debt. Okay. So I didn't know that was going to happen, but I tried so hard all my life to do the right thing, go to college, wait for marriage, get married, get married out of college, not before, didn't get pregnant out of wedlock, didn't try drugs, didn't do any of those things, right? Like I really tried my best to live my life the right way. And you know what I discovered about life? It doesn't matter how good you are, how perfect you are. Life throws you the curveballs that it wants to throw you. All right. And so, especially if you got a calling on your life, the enemy wants to stop you at every turn. So I have had to learn to let go of trying to be perfect and trying to be so amazing. But what I didn't understand is that when I was trying to be so perfect and when I thought I was doing everything right, unfortunately, what I was doing is I was pushing away everybody else who lived lives that were more fun and normal, And so you got to understand that people aren't paying you to look down your nose at them. And that's how I used to come across. Okay. All right. That's probably more than you bargained for when you asked that question, but you got what you got. I guess that's one thing about me. You're always going to get a little more than you bargained for when you talk to JJ Conway, but I am getting faster at answer questions. All right. This is another great question, y'all. This is somebody who wants to know, should they separate their charge accounts for strictly business and personal? They've been crossed up before. Okay. They said they're using credit cards and they pay them off monthly so they can accumulate the miles. Now, I like how honest this person was, because they said they pay them off monthly usually. And I'm like, okay, you're honest. I can work with you. All right. Because the reality is, a lot of people who hold credit cards and have a lot of people who hold credit cards and say that they're going to get the miles or they're going to get the benefits. One of the things that you find out is down the line, you can't use them the way you wanted. The miles expire, or they have blackout dates, or the benefits don't always line up with what you need. And the other big thing is one crazy spending spree, or quote unquote emergency that really isn't an emergency. Oh man, that wipes out all the good you just did by getting all the points and stuff. Okay. So we want to be real careful with that. And you all know, any of you have been listening to me for a while, I generally prefer a debt-free, no credit card lifestyle. And my fellow Ramsey preferred coaches will probably disown me when they hear this, but one exception that I do make is when it comes to business stuff, if you're paying it off every month, because I know that for me, my card gets frauded so frequently. I feel as a financial planner, it's really hard for me to recommend that you do that with your primary bank account. Okay. But there's no reason for us in this day of PayPal, this day and age of Zelle and what are all the other ones? Cash App and all this stuff. There's really no reason for a person to have a credit card because of fraud on internet purchases. There are so many different avenues that you can use to make your internet purchases without having to divulge your debit card number. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And I understand if you travel a lot like me and you're tired of having to replace your card number every 3 months or every 2 months or I think one person told me they were replacing it every month. And I was kind of like, look, I know I'm bad, but maybe you need some better security. But I understand, when you travel a lot, I mean, I went to a gas station on a military trip with a whole bunch of generals, and by time we were driving to a big city, so we were taking a charter bus. We stopped at a gas station halfway through. By the time we got to where we were going, my card was already frauded, and it was my government card, y'all. So I mean, anyway, so I understand that. All right. So yes. If you're going to use cards, pay them off monthly. I would recommend that you don't use the cards at all. I would recommend that you structure your life, that you're paying your things ahead of time, not behind the fact, so that you're not having all of these things that you're paying and then you have to catch up later. Like sometimes we just have to take a pause and restructure our life so that we're paying before we're paying strategically, we're paying ahead and not catching up. All right. And Frank, I'm going to get to your question in just a second. Okay, but to finish off this question, one of the things they ask about here is separating their accounts for strictly business and personal. And absolutely, yes, you have got to separate your accounts for business and personal. Even if you're setting up a separate checking account at your personal bank that looks like a personal account, but you're using it for business, or even if you're just using a savings account because your business isn't to the point where you're pulling out a lot every month. Whatever you do, make sure those monies are not commingled, okay? You want business money here and personal money here. And when you want to use some of your business money for personal, you take the business money out of the account, you pay yourself, and now you've had a paycheck, okay? Now, if you have a single member LLC, the IRS doesn't care, where you put the money. It's all your money. You're all being taxed on that personally, right? But as your company grows, you want to put these processes in place so that you're already used to abiding by them. You don't just go willy-nilly for 4 or 5 years and then all of a sudden you go viral and now you can't handle it. You put those processes in place right now so that you have the goodness to come. For those of you who were in my authentic abundance class, remember one of the things we talked about was, if you really have faith, remember, faith is the substance. If you really have faith that this blessing is coming, that your business is going to break through, that this is the next great idea, if you really have faith, your faith should result in substance. That faith is the substance of things hoped for. When I have faith that my business is going to boom, I start putting into action now the things that I need to do so that when my business booms, I'm good to go. And so if you really believe in you and I believe in you, so you got to believe in you, right? I can't believe in you more than you believe in you, right? If you really believe in you, start doing things the right way now. Get those monies separated when you need to take a vacation because you worked hard at your business. Take your vacation, but take the money out the business account, pay yourself, and put that money into the personal account as a line item for your business. All right, let me get to Frank's question here. Now that is hilarious. I am not going to post it on there because he is being absolutely hilarious. Uh, um, but duct tape clothing is a thing, so we'll just leave it at that. All right. Okay. Let's see. Next question. All right. I just got married, and we have questions about. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Okay. So what this is this is a couple. This is a couple that they have just gotten married and they want some advice about combining their accounts. This can be a real sticky issue for a lot of couples, especially if this is a second or third marriage, because you may have been burned, okay? And your trust levels may be low, or you may be worried that you can't trust your partner, okay, financially. And so for me, most of the time, I am going to recommend that a couple have a joint account and that they sit down and do their spend plan every month together. I understand that not every couple does that. My husband and I, we've lived separate for so many years of our marriage, and I've recently retired from the Air Force, and now our family is back together, right? But we still haven't combined accounts, but we talk about the funds and we know who's doing what, and we're on one accord. That's my most important thing, is that you're on one accord. The way this question is phrased makes it sound to me like they are concerned about combining, and they don't tell me why they're concerned about combining, but some people are concerned. Like I said before, it could be trust issues. It could also be that one partner is not very disciplined when it comes to money. All right. I had a client like that a couple weeks ago. And one of the things that I recommended, and they were really surprised because they thought I was going to tell them put everything together. And I'm like, well, if you've got one spouse that's overspending and overdrafting all the time, that person needs an account in their name. And then that's where their spending money goes. But you still have to be in unity as a couple as what you're going to spend on the house, on the utilities, on groceries, on eating out. Your team, regardless of how you do the funds, you have to be a team, or it's not going to work long term. Even if it works and you're not getting in financial trouble, you are not getting the multiplicative, if that's the right word, effects of being a couple. If he's doing his thing and she's doing his thing, or whatever kind of couple you have, right? If you're doing your own thing, then sure, you may not be in debt, you may be building some wealth, but you would be so much stronger together. And together, there are synergies there, and there are opportunities to do more with less, so that the money you have separately is actually more when it's together. All right. So I hope I'm explaining that well. So when somebody is first getting married and they already have these accounts, you're not just getting married out of college and you don't really have anything. But if you're getting married right out of college and neither one of y'all have anything yet, and you don't know each other's money habits, then, go ahead and get that combined account and just start off in unity, right? But if you're getting married later in life and you're just not sure, you want to give somebody access, right? Because that's the tone that I'm getting. And you can't tell tone from email, right? Then what you can do is you can have a joint account and a his and hers account. All right. That's one way a lot of people solve that problem. Or you have certain things where each person they have their own accounts that they already had, but now each person is paying their own things. Okay. So this person's paying these bills, this person's paying those bills. Again, I'm a big fan of being in unity. I am not going to prescribe that because I know it doesn't work for everybody. But the biggest thing is, if you're not going to be in unity in the actual accounts, be in unity in your planning and how you handle the money and how you spend the money. Okay. Let me see what else is in here. Okay. So they want to buy a house. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with folks like Dave Ramsey who say when you first get married, you should not rush to go buy a house. And I had a client the other day who was like, well, they didn't become a client because I don't think they liked my advice, but they were like, oh, I want to buy this house. It's in a neighborhood where my family is, and it's a good price, and we know the neighborhood, and we're going to be here for a while. And I was just like, you just got married last month. It's not advisable to go buy a house right away because you don't even really know each other yet. I mean, me and my husband Chris, we lived next door to each other when I came back from deployment, and I moved to Carthage, Texas. He was living in Carthage, Texas, and the unit next to him was vacant, so we lived next door. And I always chuckle. I had a key to his house, but he didn't have a key to my house, y'all. He wasn't sneaking into my room in the middle of the night. So but you really can't get any closer without actually living together than we were before we got married, right? While we were dating. And I'm like, you just, and I still didn't know certain things, and he still didn't know certain things. And the other day, my assignment was to ask him what was it like being married to me, and I was supposed to just be quiet and let him talk for 3 minutes. Y'all know that's difficult. But I said, so what is it like being married to me? And I just sat there, and he said, well, it's never boring. I don't think he knew he was getting all of that when he married me. So sometimes you just don't know. You don't know each other. You don't know what you need. You don't know how far away from your family you really need to be. And so I would recommend that you hold off on that and be sure that you're out of debt before you buy a house. Get out of debt, get a good savings account, and get a good down payment. A lot of people say, oh, you're throwing away money on rent. You're throwing away money on rent. Well, I'll tell you what, you buy a house and have to replace your AC, your roof, and your sewer line all in the first year. You will not be happy you bought a house. Ask me how I know. All right. All right, great question. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you want to ask them to the queue from which I'm reading, you can drop them in at jjclink.com/ ask JJC or ask JJ. Like, wait, I got to remember my own link. Hold on. Let me pull that up. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to get the shirt challenge today. Yeah. jjclink.com/ ask JJ. If you are on Clubhouse, I appreciate you. I'm going to try to get to questions after I get through the ones that have already been submitted. If you hang on the line, but if you want to add one to the written queue, jjclink.com/ ask JJ, or you can just drop a question in the comments. All right. Let me go to the next question here. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so this person has paid off a significant amount of debt, and they're frustrated that the debts are still showing up on their credit report. And they're like, how do I get these things to disappear? Okay, so here's the tricky thing about credit reports. Contrary to what people will tell you when they're trying to sign you up for these credit repair plans that usually don't work. I won't get on that rant today. Most of the time when you have a debt, even after you've paid it off, it doesn't leave your credit report for like 7 years. And in some instances, 10 years. Okay. Or even, depending on the situation, it could be on there for a very long time, even after you've paid it off, because they are going to maintain that as part of your credit history for a minimum of 7 years. All right. And so it won't fall off right away. The only kinds of things that you could expect to maybe fall off right away is if you had a charge that was fraudulent, or if you had a charge that was it was granted to somebody else in a divorce or some other kind of settlement, and they haven't been paying. And because they haven't been paying, even though you were legit on it in the beginning, because they haven't been paying, now your credit is being hurt. What you do is you submit a letter to the credit bureaus, all three of them, and you explain the situation. You include a copy of the settlement or the divorce decree, and then they should not be including that in your credit score. It may still show up, but they shouldn't be including it. But that other stuff, yeah, it's there. I'm so sorry. But, and people come to me, they're like, yeah, I'm spending $100 a month. I'm spending $50 a month. I had one person was spending like almost $1,000 a month on credit repair. And I'm like, if you put that $1,000 a month towards your bills and towards getting caught up, you would not have to worry about a credit repair company. I said I wasn't going to get on one of those rants. I'm going to stop it right now. The spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. Okay, next question. Next question. I'm retired at 63. My wife plans to work until she's 62. Later this year, we have a sizable portfolio. We want to build a house. I'm trying to figure out if I should finance a portion of the home cost or just pay cash. Okay, this is going to depend on the size of your portfolio. And whoever asked this question did not give me a size of their portfolio. But I will say that I'm a big fan of paying off as much as you can and not having to deal with those costs, especially as we get older and we don't know what our health is going to be and we don't know what the future is going to hold. Now, there are some people who are worried about some people who are worried about having a free and clear house because they're worried that makes them a candidate for liability. Well, there's a lot of techniques you can use to reduce your liability in those instances. For example, you could put your house into a land trust, which is not the same as a well, we won't talk about the details here, but you could put your house into a land trust, and then it reduces it reduces the likelihood that someone will sue you because they see that you have a paid for house. Okay. And so those are some kinds of things you can do. Back when I first got involved in real estate investing, one of the prevailing winds of how to invest in real estate back then was that you would take a huge loan against your house, and you may not use it, but you would take a huge home equity loan against your house so that when anybody looked at you on paper, it would look like you were so over leveraged, because back then you could do 125%. It would look like you're so over leveraged that you're definitely not suable. Now, this was something we all fell for. Us and a whole bunch of our friends, we fell for that foolishness, y'all. That got us into a world of hurt, because right after we all took those loans, the market crashed and our houses were no longer worth it. That house we paid $405,000 for was only worth 180. Okay. So I would recommend paying off as much as you can. But when it comes to a house, if you've got 20% down, I'm not going to tell you don't finance it. I just feel that at that age, I don't want you to be tied down. I don't want you to be limited. I don't want your retirement income limited because you can't move now and do what you want to do. You don't have the flexibility and freedom of time and space to do what you want to do because you got a house note. All right. So that's something to consider. Great question. All right. Next question. This person is concerned about paying off their student loan. They really want to find a coach, but they just feel like every plan is too strict. And so I'm going to answer this question in a way that may not be very, very palatable. I admit it up front, okay? When it comes to things being too strict, we need to ask ourselves, compared to what? See, student loans are not bankruptable. Y'all thought I had a rant about credit repair companies? Oh, I got a rant about these college loans. I will spare you. I promise. The spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. I am commanding my spirit not to get into a college loan rant. I could spend hours talking about the evils of college loans and how many people have come to me that are hamstrung and how their wealth is just depleted because they thought they were going to get these good jobs. And now they're hamstrung by these college loans, and that good job gets them nothing. I would have almost rather they not go to college than go to college and come out with these college loans that are ridiculous. All right. So when it comes to being too strict, you've got to think about compared to what, because nobody is going to take care of you. Nobody is going to allow you to bankrupt out of those loans. And when you don't pay them, they are going to have hefty fees, and better not have a privatized loan. I had somebody come to me once with a privatized loan, 46% interest. There are no rules or regulations on that. And I was like, I think it was either law school or med school, but it was something where she had hundreds of thousands of debt. And now she was called to social work. And I'm like, I think it was law school, because you ought to practice law for a couple of years, just pay that thing off and then go into social work. Because you can't pay that off at 46% interest when you're making 30,000 a year. You know what I mean? So if you're not strict now, you're going to have to be strict later. See, people don't understand this because we're young and we got our strength and we got our energy and we got our brains and we got all these things around us and life is just fantastic and we don't want to miss out. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I want you to go. If you feel like financial planning is too strict, I want you to go up into the neurology unit of a hospital one day. And I want you to just watch, just take an hour or so and just watch how many people are in this environment. And that is their entire day. Their medical, their healthcare is their entire day. Their whole life is around staying alive. And heaven forbid they don't have the insurance or the plans or the money they need to get quality health care. Oh, it's a mess. I remember watching my ex-mother-in-law waste away. She was on welfare most of her life. My ex-husband grew up in Bonnie Doon. Any of y'all from Fayetteville, you know where that is. The problems that came from them not having money and all of her health care being through the state, I made up my mind. I don't ever want to be in that position. Watching her waste away because of how bad they treated her. And we weren't able to move her at the time because of our military service. We couldn't care for her. You have to be disciplined now so that you can have freedom later. All right. I see that my YouTube comments today are not very serious. They're quite funny, but I'm gonna need y'all to, if y'all are serious, you kind of need to reword your questions. All right. I may have to go in there and delete some comments. This is the first time we broadcast this to YouTube. I upgraded my StreamYard, and so it lets you broadcast to more channels. So I said, let me add YouTube into the mix. And I'm not impressed right now with the comments. And I don't mean that to be rude, but you know, some of y'all know why I'm saying it. Some of y'all sending me these comments. You know why I'm saying that. All right, let me get to the next question. Like, I don't want to lose my audience right away. All right. Let's see. Okay, this is somebody who has a fair amount of debt. They have way more debt than they're making. Oh, boy. Okay. So this is kind of complicated. I'm not sure I can explain all of this and keep them anonymous, but I'm going to try. Okay. So, this person makes about $35,000 a year. They've got 58 in debt with another 75 in student loans. And their thing is they're at a working for the government, so they have great retirement. Although I don't know how great your retirement's going to be if all you're making is $35,000 a year, unless you've really been banking it. The thing is that they're saying, well, if I work here 8 more years, I'm going to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. Now, I don't know what state they're in. I mean, I could go parse out that data, but I've specifically put these questions like this so that I don't have all that data. It's easier for me to read. And I don't even know if this is a he or a her, honestly. But the thing is, most of these loan forgiveness programs actually don't work out. Okay. Most of them don't work out at all. Okay. And you got to know that. And so the only future you can control is the one you have access to control. And in 8 years, you don't know what those plans are going to be like. In 8 years, you don't know if you're going to qualify. I think the most recent stat that I heard of is less than 1% of people who are in who have met the requirements for loan forgiveness programs actually get their student loans forgiven. Okay. And so I'm kind of like, I really hate for anybody to bank on that. All right. What I would be willing to say go for is if your company reimburses you as you go for your student fees. So you pay for one semester, you get A's and B's, they reimburse that. Like, to me, that's a very dependable thing. Because if you know after the first semester, if they don't do it, well, then you just don't do it, right? But here, this is not necessarily a good situation. This is a situation that can be turned around before retirement, but they've got another $28,000 of debt on a land loan for their house. And, they've got properties. They're mentioning their parents' properties. I don't know if they've inherited or not. It sounds like they may have inherited it, but even if they sell it, it's not going to get them out of all the debt. So now my take on it, I would kind of wonder what your family would have wanted you to do. I think most of the time the reason our family leaves us something is so we can have a better life. And unless, this is a difficult one because it's not enough to pay everything off, but unless it's a property that you want to move to, in which case you would sell yours, I wouldn't hang on to it with all of this debt when you're almost 50, because you've got to be able to live on whatever your retirement is. And right now you can't even really make all of these ends meet and pay off your debt before retirement off $35,000 a year. So I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be negative. But I'm saying this is going to require some sitting down. I would like you to reach out to me because there may be some more details here, because okay, let me back up. Their terminology in this is like, oh, well, I don't really have anything. I mean, I have this, but I have this, but I have this, but it's going to be forgiven in 8 years. And I have this, it's paid for. Oh, but I do have a debt on the land. And so what I'm seeing in this, and again, you can't tell tone from email, but what I'm seeing in this picture is this person has a very optimistic, rosy view of where they're at. And from a financial planner standpoint, I don't have a very rosy financial view, very, very, very rosy picture of where they're at. If they want to get where they need to go, they're going to need to buckle down and they're going to need to make some changes. They have enough time. They don't necessarily need to give up their great job and their great retirement plan, but they do need to make some course corrections now so that when they hit retirement age, they'll be good to go. All right. Sometimes, I had somebody one time, and this is another person that we weren't a good fit for, and that's okay. As a coach, sometimes you're not a good fit for everybody. But I had somebody one time and they were like, yeah, well, we don't have that much debt. And I'm like, do you realize you guys make $50,000 and you've got like $65,000 worth of debt? Oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then they were talking about, well, we have really, really great credit. And I was like, well, what's your credit? And they were like, oh, it's like 540. And I'm like, what do you say to that? And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be mean, but that's not great credit. Oh, well, my credit is good. My credit is good. I'm like, no, it's not. And I felt so bad, but I was just like, I can't let you walk away believing that. But sometimes we don't see things for what they really are. You know how I'm going to give you an example? I'm going to give you a personal example that has nothing to do with money, but you're going to identify with it. I have recently seen pictures of me from last year, and I've compared them with pictures of me from this year, and I had no idea how heavy I was this time last year. And I know that this time last year, I had lost weight. So for those of you who are new to me, especially those of you on Clubhouse, for those of you who are new to me, I was in the military. I retired from the military last year. And I had in 2015, November 2015, I had an emergency C-section. 6 months later, me and that baby were rear-ended. So I had complications with that, and plus the complications with the C-section. I couldn't lift my left arm for a while. So I thank God for physical therapists because, they gave me the use of my arm back when I got to my last base. And I was in the middle of PCSing too, right? Like, so I'm moving cross country. I can't lift my arm, right? And what a ridiculous time. But because of all that, I put on some weight and I get to my next duty assignment and I'm heavier than I want to be. And then 8 months later, I'm rear-ended again. And this time with cognitive damage. So now I really can't work out because I need to give my brain space and time to heal. And oh my goodness, I put on so much weight, but I didn't realize it because in the mirror, I still saw me. I still saw me. I still saw me who was a finalist for Miss Veteran America in 2014. I still saw me in my wedding dress at the end of 2014. I didn't see me as I really was. And I didn't even really see me as I was until I saw those pictures. And not even in the moment, it's years later, and it's like, wow, I can't believe how big I was. No wonder people in the military kind of would give me the eye or ask if I was a reservist, or any number of little digs that they would do. I just didn't see myself that way. When it comes to finances, a lot of times we don't see ourselves like we really are. We see ourselves like we used to be. We see ourselves like we want to be. We see ourselves like everybody else around us. Like that was another thing that I had, in the military, everybody around me was so petite. I didn't realize how big I was because I never saw anybody so big. It never even occurred to me that I was so big. I was fit. I always got, 95, 90, 97 or whatever on my fitness test. So I wasn't worried about my weight. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I took pictures of at our retreat in Galveston last week that I hosted. Oh my goodness, it was so much fun. But I took pictures of my retreat, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm huge. And to know that I'm feeling that way now compared to year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was even bigger. Money can be the same way. So you have to look at the results. You have to look at the results. You have to look at what's really happening. And you can't play this game of, oh, well, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. You got to deal with what it is now. And one of the things I always tell you is you've got to deal with how things are right now. You don't want to make the mistake that me and so many other people made, where we thought it was going to work out. So we just kept going and we ignored the problem and we ignored the problem. And then all of our money's gone. And now we're at rock bottom. All right. So sometimes you really need to get that financial coach in to help you understand why you're not achieving your financial goals. All right. Next question. Let me take a look here. Oh, okay. Well, this is a pretty involved question. This is a multiple point question. The person has a 2-year-old son. They're going to go to a private school for a couple of years before going to public school. And this person wants to buy a house. And then they're thinking, well, maybe I should rent until they go to a public school. You know what? I don't know where they're from, but I know in several of the places I've been stationed, you put your kid in private school to get them ready so they can qualify to go to the charter school or magnet school or whatever upper level program. Like my son, he received Fairfax County Level 4 Advanced Academic Program Services. It's the top level. And he got that starting in 3rd grade. So we moved to be closer to his new school. So I understand the situation here. So there's a couple things going on in the situation. The son has received some money, and it's in a certificate program that matures this summer. And so they're wondering what to do with that money. And then they're also wondering whether they should buy a house or just rent until the child moves to a different school. And then the other one is they've got a lot of debt paid off. They have some extra money. What should they do next? Okay, so I'm going to split these questions. I'm going to do if this is your question today, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to split off your questions. Let's talk a little bit about private school and what to do with money. If you've got money for children, okay, and you want to put it in a 529 plan. I love 529 plans. I think they are excellent vehicles for saving for college. But what a 529 plan will not do, a 529 plan will not allow you to use their funds for secondary or K through 12 private school. A Coverdell, an education savings account, which you can only put $2,000 a year in, that will allow you to use those funds for that kind of education. But this person wouldn't be able to put all of that money in there. And so if you know that the child is not going to need the money for the next 5 years and you want to invest it in the market, cool. But in this case, the time horizon to investing is so short. I personally wouldn't put it in the market. I would actually either roll it into another CD or put it in a money market or something that's going to give you a guaranteed rate of return, and you're not going to risk losing the money. The reason I say that is because the market goes up and down. It has a cycle. And every market goes up and down, just like every business has a cycle where you have more business, then less business, then more business, and less business. And with the stock market, it goes up and down, but overall it trends upward. But you really need a 5 to 10 year period to guarantee that you're going to get a trend upward. Okay. And so really even a 10 year period, and there may be moments where it goes down, but it's overall, if you wait that long, your trajectory is up. So even if it goes down, generally speaking, it's not going to go down so far as where it was when you started. Okay. But you don't have that kind of time in this situation. You got 2 years. So I would roll that money either into another certificate that would mature closer to when you need the money, depending on when pre-K starts, or if you're going to do, because some people do pre-K, some people do pre-K 3, I don't know what this person's going to do for pre-K, but mine did K4, and he'll start kindergarten next year, this coming fall. But some people do K, 3, 4, and then they do kindergarten. So depending on when you would start preschool, you don't want to tie that money up too much, but I would not risk putting it in the market. Okay. So that's the first question. The second question has to do with, should I buy a house or rent? And that's going to depend on where you intend to live later on. I am not a fan of buying a property that you're only going to be in for 3 years unless you can pay for that property in full and you intend to rent it out when you move. I love that policy. Okay. I love that. Or if you know that you'll be able to pay it off in 3 years and you put like 50% down or something, and you'll be able to pay it off before you move again. And then you want to make that a rental property. I love it. That's one of the strategies I teach. Right. So I love that idea. But what a lot of people do is they go in, they get a FHA or VA loan, and they think, oh, real estate always goes up and I'm going to be here for 3 years. I'm going to tell you something. Being in the military, every property that we were only there for 3 years, we lost money on. Every single one. And we had some that were so far upside down that we couldn't sell. So we got stuck with them, and so after a while, those brought some profit, but it was a long, hard road. So I love real estate. I think real estate is the fastest way to build wealth. If you don't have a long time before retirement, and you're willing to do the work, you can build wealth quickly with real estate. However, I don't like people to go into debt because you just don't know what the market is going to do. And in 3 years, there's no guarantee that you're going to get your money back when you move. I know people don't like to throw away money and rent. That's something that we all feel, we feel like that's almost un-American. Okay. But I'm going to tell you what, when you buy a house, and you got to replace the roof, or you got to replace this, or you got to replace that, or you have a big hailstorm, and then you discover that your deductible is 1 or 2% of the purchase price of your home. Okay. These are things that unless you have good money set aside in savings accounts, you're going to be eaten alive with the house. And if you don't know where you're going to live in 3 years, my personal preference is rent something small that'll just tide you over until you know what the end's going to be, and stockpile as much cash as you can. Because if you stockpile as much cash as you can, then when you know where your child is going to be going to school, then not only can you freely move there and you have the money for a down payment, but then you also have money to outfit your rooms and decorate and put all the nice things in it that you would want to have. Oh, I remember the days of buying the house and not being able to afford to put anything nice in it. Anybody else been there? Oh my goodness. All right. So that's the first part of the questions. The second part of the question is about paying off their student loan. Okay. Now, the reason I separated this is because the first part of the question applies to a lot of people, and the second part of the question applies to a lot of people. But there's a machination in the middle. For this individual, because you have student loans, I absolutely would not recommend buying a house. I would recommend paying off those loans before you buy a house. I really would. I know they're a lot of money because I'm reading it here. It's a lot of money. And it's like, oh, well, just don't worry about it. No, get that knocked out. You do not want that hanging over your head. And let me tell you something about kids in school. Their school and their programs and their activities only get more expensive as time goes. And believe it or not, your kids need you more and more the older they get. My teenager needs me just as much now, if not more so, than he needed me 10 years ago. All right. As far as being there for him. And it's hard to be there and be present for a child when you're so worried about money. Okay. So the second part of the question is, I've paid off a lot of debt. Whoop, whoop. Good for you. $150,000 of debt. I love that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Guy has a little bit of money left. And should they start paying on their student loan of $149K now? Or should they go and get their house and all that kind of stuff? Because one of the things that this person's concerned about is making sure they set their son up for success, not to make the mistakes that they made. And those of you who are new to me, you may not know this, but that's one of the things that really drove me when I first started my business. I wanted a business where my children were never going to be sleeping on another moldy basement floor. I wanted my children to have the ability not to have to spend the night in a Walmart parking lot or have to call themselves car camping because mom couldn't afford a hotel room when we went to the meetings or when we went to visit somebody. Okay. I don't want my children to have to live like that. Now, if they want to make their own mistakes and they end up living like that anyway, well, that's on them. But I want to give them a better life. Okay. And so I understand this. Well, but at this age, at 2 years old, let me tell you, that child doesn't care how much money you have. That child doesn't care what kind of house you live in. That child doesn't care what kind of amenities you have. That child doesn't care what kind of clothes they're wearing. Now, if they're like my oldest, they'll start caring at 5. But at 2, they're not caring about all those things right now. All they care about is that when you come home, you're loving on them, and you're snuggling them, and you're watching with them, and you're playing with them, and you're all about them. That's what they care about. Okay. And so I would say now is the time. Now is the time to really knock that out. You paid off so much debt in 2020. And I don't know if you sold some things or what, but you did so much in 2020. Stay the course, knock the student loan debt out before your son starts kindergarten, and then we can work on your home. There are so many ways to buy a home that don't require taking a loan. There are so many ways to buy a home that are cost effective. There are so many ways to buy a home without going into huge amounts of debt. I know it sounds hard to believe, but I promise you it's true. Okay. So worry about getting out of debt, worrying about building up that 3 to 6 month savings account, and then let's worry about getting the house. I promise you it happens very quickly. People are so shocked at how quickly they can build wealth once they get out of debt. And now all of that income goes towards debt. Okay. So I think you can do it. All right. Let's see. Great question. Thank you so much. All right. Next question. Need help planning for retirement. They don't have much and they're 48 and 47. Okay. So this is an interesting question for me, because if you've got a decent income and stable health and you've got about 20 years to invest, that if you can do that, then you will be able to save enough to maintain your lifestyle. If you can live on a debt-free lifestyle where you are investing 15 to 20% of your income, you do that for 20 years and you'll be okay. And at these age points, you might have to work a little longer, but you can be okay. Now, I don't know where your health is. I don't know what your job stability is like. I don't know if you're in a toxic environment that's eating away at your well-being and you just need to get out of there. I don't know all those complexities, okay? So each of those things adds a nuance. If you don't have the 20 years in the market to invest, or you are not able to reduce your expenses to the point where you can invest 15 to 20% of your income, now we have to do some additional work, and it's going to be determined by what is important to you. So for example, if you want to retire in 10 years and you have no nest egg at all, but you want to retire in 10 years, well, I can teach you how to invest in real estate and you can be financially independent in 10 years, but it's a lot of work. Now, if you're in your 20s starting out, and you want to invest 10, not 10, if you want to invest $100 or $200 in a month in the market, and you're in your 20s right now, when you retire, you'll be a multi-millionaire. Easy peasy. But some of us, we were either hard-headed, or we had too much fun, or we had, we gave all our money away to some smooth talking man, and we are in that position. And so you have to determine what kind of lifestyle you want, what kind of wealth you want, and what you're willing to give in return. If you're willing to do the work, you can be financially independent in as little as 7 years. In fact, if you're debt free, you can be financially independent in as little as 3 years, but it takes work. It's not easy peasy. It's not an easy button. It's not a viral video. Okay. And so that's what I would say is, without more details, that's how I would answer you there. Invest even at 48. You got 20 years, that puts you at 68. Invest 15 to 20% and you'll be okay. If you want to accelerate that, let's learn some other techniques, such as investing in real estate and things like that. Okay. Now, let me just add something in here, because I know somebody's going to come in and they're either going to put it here, or they're going to put it in the thing. In fact, let me just pull that up. If you want to ask a question, you can either drop a comment here, or if you want to be anonymous, you can send it in to this link, jjclink.com/askjj. Okay. If you want to invest, what is one of the things that's so popular right now? Day trading and all these apps and getting into the crypto. And I always find it hilarious that people come up to me. They're like, wow, I made $3,000 in my first week. And the next week, wow, I made another $1,000 in my next week. And I always think to myself, okay, let me see what happens when you try to pull that money out. I'm not going to burst anybody's bubble right now, but there's a lot of people who have vested interest in making you feel like you are making a lot more money than you really are. Is it possible to make good money with techniques like day trading? Absolutely. If you'll go in there and you'll be disciplined about buying something and selling when it goes up a little bit, and recouping your cost, and you keep incrementing like that, you can make a lot of money. You can absolutely make a lot of money. But most of us don't have that kind of time and focus and ability, or we don't have that kind of discipline, or we don't have that kind of personality that will do the research we need to do to know what's a good investment or not, or to see what's going on and happening, or to, a lot of times people get too greedy. They ride that wave, and they're so excited and they don't pull out because they're like, well, it could keep going up. And then they don't pull out. And then now the market now that stock crashes. Okay. So there's a lot of nuance when it comes to things like day trading. I have rarely found anybody. I do know people who have made good money doing it, but I've rarely found that most people who are watching a show like this or listening to a podcast like this will actually go forth and do the work they need to do in order to do it. And the other thing with something like that is, if you're going to use an incremental strategy like that, you really need lots of money to work with. And so, there's ways to pool funds and get money, get your friends together and really make something happen. There's ways to do that. But I've seen more people fail at it than succeed. So even though I know it's possible to succeed, it's not something that I teach. Okay. I think it's always important to acknowledge things like that. I always chuckle when I'm listening to other financial planners or other financial coaches who talk about all these different esoteric things that you can do. And then you ask them what they do, and they're like, well, they live a debt-free lifestyle and they invest in mutual funds and real estate. And it's always funny to me, because a lot of people will teach you all kinds of things that they themselves don't do, because it's either too complicated, or it's too expensive, or it's just too much work and energy, and they just don't want to do that. But they'll teach you how to do it, and you'll make great money teaching you how to do it. But they won't do it themselves, or they did it at one time. Like, there's a lot of things I can teach you that I did in real estate investing, but I also don't want to keep doing it. It's like wholesaling. There's a reason I have a wholesaling class. I teach people how to wholesale, so I don't have to. They wholesale and bring the properties to me. I thought that a win-win, right? All right, let's move on to the next question. Let me read this here. Okay, this is a little bit long one here. Let me just take a second to read it. For those of you who are on Clubhouse, I know dead air is a bad thing, but this is a long one. I need to take a second to read it. Okay. Okay. I think I've actually talked to this person previously, so I'm really surprised to see this question here. Okay, or it's just somebody else with the same question. This person has a lease. The lease is almost up. They're over in mileage, and they know they're going to have to pay for it if they turn it in. Their bank says they can buy it at 5% for a payment that's slightly less than their lease. And she or he, I don't know who, says they know that most of the time people like me are going to say buy a used vehicle outright. They don't feel comfortable doing it. Okay, so yeah, 66-year-old single female. So this is not somebody who feels like they can do that. So it is a she. Does not feel like they can do that. Doesn't have someone who can assist with transportation or even advice when there's a breakdown. And I remember being there, y'all. I do remember being there. Okay. And they're like, well, should I go ahead and buy that, or should I look for something else? It's going to be hard for me to stay under that amount without getting something that's really old and beat up. And I understand where you're coming from. In fact, I know myself when, before I remarried, I remember how afraid I was for me and my son when my car would just cut off in the middle of the road. I mean, there's nothing more scary than you're in the middle of traffic and your car just cuts off, and you're at the mercy whoever's behind you to pay attention and not hit you, right, as you try to get off the road. And so I understand that. I am not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of car notes. um, I think what I would rather do in this situation is sit down and brainstorm some ideas. However, I have had clients in the past who turned around and bought their leased vehicles, paid them off, and then rolled on. One of the advantages of buying the car you already have leased is that you know the car. You know if it's a good car, you know if it's not a good car. And if it's a good car and you already kind of have a relationship with the car, like you know it squeaks and beeps and you know what works and doesn't work and you know how well it fits you or doesn't fit you. If it's a fit and it's a good solid car, then that could be a good investment. Okay. And so well, I shouldn't say investment, because investments are things that make money and cars don't make you money. But they don't say how long the loan terms would be. I'm very, very leery of these 84-month and longer loan periods that are being offered right now. Okay. And so I would do what you can. If you know the time is coming up, I would do what you can to try to save up and buy the car outright. I don't have any information here. I don't have any income information to know what they're at and whether or not they can do it, but they really want to stay where they're at. And I just don't want you to go into your most impactful years of life tied down by debt. Okay. So get with me and we can talk about that a little bit more. But in general, I'm going to tell you guys right now, in general, if you can save up and buy a car, even if it's not the greatest car, okay, it's going to be better for you financially than paying for a car that you have a note on, especially with these crazy long notes. All right. And so I understand what it's like to be by yourself and not have people that can help you when your car's breaking down. It's breaking down all the time. It's the scariest thing in the world. And then even when you have friends who can help you, like I remember the first car that I had that was, when it was nearing the end of the second car that I had, when it's nearing the end of its life, I had really good friends who just helped me so much. They did so much for me and my son, and we had just become single family, and I was still adjusting to not being married anymore. And they just really took me under their wings, and they did so much for me. And every time my car broke down, my friend's husband would be there and he would fix it up, and him and his friend would come fix it up. And in the middle of the night, they would come fix it up. And I'm so thankful for that. But I'm going to tell you, I remember feeling like these people are going to hate me forever because I'm always so needy. And so two things I'm going to say on this. If you will make a commitment to your future, and by commitment to your future, I mean, if you will make the commitment that I am not going into any more debt, because debt is not helping my future. At 66, you don't have time to mess around. You have to be free in time, space, and money to be able to do what you were created to do. This is your time. You're about to walk. The 70s and 80s is the most significant and impactful time of anybody's life. That's what the surveys say. They surveyed all these people, thousands of people in nursing homes and other places, and asked what were the most significant years of your life. And it was the 70s and 80s. And I don't want you to get tied down with all this debt and all these excuses. I want you to find a way. And when you make a commitment to yourself, and you say, I'm going to do what's in best of my financial future, and I'm not going into debt, I promise you the doors will open up. I've seen it happen over and over again. The doors will open up for somebody to help you. The doors might open up for someone to give you a vehicle. The doors might open up over here. The doors might open up over there. I don't know how they're going to open up. I just know that I've seen it happen over and over again. And I've even seen it in my life. I did not earn $845,000 of debt. But somehow what I did multiplied and opened up doors, and this happened and that came down and this and whatever. Boom. It worked. And I promise you, making a commitment to your future to eradicate this debt and stop being in bondage to other people will work for you. It's time for you to be bold and step into the life that God has called you to live. Let me pull up the next question. Okay, let's see. Oh, I feel like I answered this question last month. Just in case, I'm going to answer it again, just in case, just to be safe. Okay. So this is someone who is concerned. They're on Medicaid. Both them and their fiance are on Medicaid. They're 65. They have no jobs. They have no retirement due to disabilities. And so this is really concerning for me because they're saying that when they get married, they would lose their Medicaid. They have no insurance though, and they need to get insurance. And so I should probably, I should have previewed these questions before I started answering them, maybe. But unfortunately, and that's why I say I think I had this question before, because I think I had this question before, and I think I forgot to prepare beforehand, because most of the time I already know the answers that you give me. When you guys send me a question, I kind of already know it, right? But this is one that I wasn't sure what their options were with the new healthcare plans and what the current status of all the healthcare arrangements are in our country right now. And so what's really concerning me here is no retirement, disabilities. When they get married, they'll lose Medicaid. And so there's only so much you can make to receive and continue to receive your benefits. But I sense a feeling of fear coming from this. And again, you can't tell tone from email. So I don't know what's really going on here, but there's always a way. And if you haven't found the way yet, then you have to keep looking for the way. Okay. And so transitioning to private insurance can be very, very expensive. And so we really need to sit down with somebody who is an insurance professional. And I know I'm starting to build my network here in my new town. I do know somebody here in my town. I would recommend that you sit down with an insurance professional and go through your options, because right now the problem that you're going to have is that you have no money and you have no income, and you don't even have, it doesn't even sound like you have disability income. So we want to get some of those things straightened out. Okay. And so if you'll reach out to me again, I can try and connect you with somebody who can sit down and talk to you from the insurance side. But then we also have to figure out how to improve your income. Okay, because you got to have a life. And even with disabilities, you can do something. If you could type me this message, then you absolutely can find something you can do to allow yourself to have some useful purpose and make a little bit of money. Okay, so let's brainstorm that a little bit better. And good on you for actually doing this planning now. Can I just say that real quick? Good on you for doing some of this planning now, because a lot of people, they get into situations and then everything changes and they're like, oh my goodness, what happened? Wait a second. How did this happen? Okay. So good on you for making those adjustments and trying to plan for that before you get married. Okay. But this is going to take an insurance professional to really, someone who is actually, you know what? Let me see something, because the zip codes are on here. Yeah. I do know somebody you can talk to. I do know somebody you can talk to in this town who will help you walk through. So reach out to me again. Okay. reach out to me again, because I don't have your name here, but reach out to me again, and let's get you connected with somebody who can sit down and walk you through the options and help you get the best options for you and your fiance. Okay. All righty. Next question. How to prioritize the debts and how much to put aside for saving and spending habits. Okay. So they really want to understand how to get through their investments. This person doesn't say how old they are. And so this couple, I'm going to answer the question in a general sense. In a general sense, we want to have an emergency fund before we do anything else. And so one of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to our financial plan is we've got to be intentional about where we want to go, and then we need to be insulated from the ups and downs and the storms of life. And so I like people to have a little starter savings account, 500 to maybe even 2,000, depending on where you live and what kinds of expenses you might incur if something goes wrong, to really get that little account together, so that as you go on your debt-free journey, this doesn't happen over here and now it derails you over there. Okay. So that you have a little padding. I call it being insulated, right? It's like putting on a raincoat, because you know the rain's going to come at some point, right? So I recommend that first. And then I recommend tackling all of your debts except for your house. Okay. And so there are some situations. There are some situations where we may want to move this around or that around, but for the most part, I like the snowball technique. It was first taught to me by Larry Burkett, and it's been made very, very popular by Dave Ramsey. And that is basically starting with the smallest debt, and then paying that off as quick as you can, and then taking the money you were paying to the smallest debt and now putting it to the next smallest debt, and then paying that off as quick as you can. What a lot of people tend to do is when they pay off one debt, they use that extra money to go have some fun with. I recommend that you don't do that trap, okay? You go in and take that money and throw it at the next possible debt, and really be intense and intentional about what you want to do and get out of debt as quick as possible. Then I want to increase your savings. Okay. So we're going to be insulated at first. We're going to put on a little raincoat to protect us from the storms of life. Then we're going to get debt free. And then now we're going to make sure that we protect ourselves even further, because we know that just with this pandemic, that life happens. And when it happens in a big way. And so we're going to increase the size of the savings account. And we're going to make sure that we have things like our insurance well taken care of, that we've got adequate health insurance, that we've got adequate life insurance. You know, some of you out there need to get adequate car insurance, you know? So all of those things, we make sure that you're really protected from those happenings of life. And then we worry about investing. A lot of people think, oh, well, I've time value of money. I've learned that if you don't start now, you're missing out. And a lot of people have thought these things, and we've been taught these things. And then we hear about employers giving free money, and I can't leave free money on the table. But when you calculate it out, and I've done the calculations, I need to find that video, or maybe I just need to make a new one. But when you calculate it out, financially, you actually do come out ahead paying off your debt and then throwing all of that into your investments. Okay. For most of us, if we really get intense and intentional about what we want to do, we're out of debt in 3 or 4 or 5 years. So the market, that time value of money in 3 years is not enough to warrant staying in bondage to somebody else. Okay. It's not that 3 years. Let me say this again. That 3 years is not worth you being in bondage to somebody else. That 3 years that you're missing out on your time value of money, let me tell you something, you're going to build it up so fast, because you're going to have more to invest when you do invest. It's going to be like it never even happened. It's going to be like that time period of your life getting out of debt never even happened. You're going to be so amazed at how your life turns around and at how fast you build wealth once you get out of debt. Woo! I'm so excited for you, okay? And now they also said they were looking for somebody to help them get understand the different types of investments, such as health savings, IRAs, 401ks, 457s, and 401ks, 457. All those different kinds of plans are things that you would get through an employer, and it's going to depend on what type of employer you have, whether they can offer you certain types of retirement plans. Okay. An individual retirement arrangement, an IRA, that's something you can set up outside of your employer, and you can have two different types of IRAs. You can have a traditional IRA or you can have a Roth IRA. I'm not going to teach a whole lot on them now, but I have a whole class that's on my YouTube channel, and it's on it's part of my Building Wealth Together Facebook group on self-directed IRAs, which includes an overview of all the different types of IRAs. Okay. So those are definitely things that you want to take advantage of. I like the self-directed because I invest in real estate, but if you don't invest, you don't want something exotic like that, because then if you don't doing anything, you're not making any money. An HSA is a health savings account, and I would like to spend a moment to talk about that for just a second, because the HSA is a very viable plan for somebody who is either very poor health or very good health. An HSA, health savings account, is something you can create when you have a high deductible plan. So a lot of people have plans that maybe, after $500 or $300, your medical care takes over the rest of the bills up to a certain amount. You might have a copay, right? But a high deductible plan, you're paying for all of your health care up until like $3,000 or $5,000. And then that healthcare plan takes the rest, right? But you got to meet that deductible. So in order to help people who are in those kinds of plans, the government has established these tax laws that allow for what's called a health savings account. And in the health savings account, you can put money in there. The earnings on that money are spent tax-free as long as they're spent to cover what you need for your high deductible healthcare plan. This is actually a brilliant strategy. And if you are young today and have access to this, I would encourage you to invest in the health savings account, because that money is your money. It rolls over, it continues to grow, and you pull it out tax-free as long as you're using it for authorized purposes, which are generally related to your health. What I want to make sure that we don't confuse an HSA with is what's called an FSA, which is a flexible spending account. An FSA is also used for medical purposes. It's for things like glasses or dentists or whatever, copays or things like that you have. But the difference between an HSA and an FSA is that FSA is a special benefit that you get, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So make sure you understand what you have and take advantage of everything that you have. All right. Great question. Okay, so this is a family. This is a family that's having a little bit of trouble with their finances. They're really disagreeing about a lot of things, and they make variable income. So they've got a couple of issues going on here. The very first issue that they're having a real hard time putting together their baby emergency fund, which is about $1,000 for this particular couple. And so when I think about that, I remember the question that was asked of me when I first embarked on this journey. And the question was, if you knew that your son in 5 years would have, and I didn't have kids at the time when I started trying to be debt free the first time, the first 2 times. Oh my goodness. Let me back up. So the question was, if you knew that your child in 5 years was going to develop an incurable disease, and the only way to save him or her was to have $5,000 in cash for the special treatment, could you find a way between now and then to get that money together? How many of us as parents, it doesn't matter what it takes, we will find a way to get that money. And so I feel like this couple needs to have the same intent and intensity in order to really get that money together. There's a block there. Now, granted, COVID kind of gunked a lot of things up because a lot of the traditional ways of earning extra money kind of fled away from us during the time of COVID. Okay. But even during time of COVID, there were still people who made extra money. There were still people who paid down debt. There were still people who started businesses and they thrived. There are still people who excelled at their primary business. There are still people who made it. There are still people who succeeded. There are still people who grew. There are still people who took advantage of the situation. And there are people in all walks of life who did well. And there are people in all walks of life who didn't come through COVID better than when they started. And we have to be intentional about where we want to go. I'm going to recommend that this couple go through my 28 days boot camp. And the reason I recommend that you go through is because we spend a lot of time in the beginning visualizing where do we want to go? What is it that you really want? And when this couple can come together about what they really want, not only will it make it easier for them to get aside their baby emergency fund, but they also, some of these disagreements they're writing me about here, some of those disagreements will fade away. Because when you are committed to your future, it becomes the filter through which you make all your other decisions. When I am committed, when me and my husband are committed to, we want to get here in 3 years, something comes up. Is that important enough to derail the plan? No. Something else comes up. Will this help us get to the plan? Yes. Okay, we'll go for it. Will this help us get to the plan? Nope. Set it aside. When we understand our purpose, it guides us and it helps us weed out all the chaff. It helps us avoid the distractions and it helps us be singularly committed and disciplined to what it is we want to do. Remember what Napoleon Hill said about poor people. People who remain in poverty, they make their decisions according to their present circumstances and conditions. I would encourage you, and especially this couple, I would encourage anybody listening or watching today to make decisions according to your strategic goals, according to the purpose of your life. And when you make decisions according to your purpose, you stop squabbling over whether or not to sell the car. You stop squabbling over whether or not to sell the truck. You stop squabbling over whether or not to get together this $1,000. You stop squabbling over whether or not to pay off these debts. You stop squabbling over whether or not to do this or to do that because you're in unity and you understand your purpose. So that's where I would spend the time. I would spend the time really sitting down and dreaming together and understanding where you want to go. All right, let's see. Let me just see one more spot I want to check for questions. If you have a question, now's a great time to put them into the chat because I think we're about done. All right, let me see. Oh, well, that's kind of embarrassing. Somebody wrote here, I've been trying to schedule an appointment with you and I can't seem to get a hold of you. Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I do these classes online and I have kind of been taking time to enjoy being retired from the military. And so my schedule's been kind of willy-nilly. And even with the summer, I'm not even working in July. So, I mean, like, I'm just so thankful that I can do that, right? Like, I'm so thankful that I have that kind of flexibility, but I will try to be more, mindful of the fact that I do have a responsibility to my audience and my clients. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Let's see. What are some innovative or non-traditional ways to finance a condo? Oh, I love this question. Non-traditional ways to finance your property besides conventional mortgages. All right. Now look, I don't have at my command the time to go into all of the creative financing strategies, but did you see how my face lit up at this question? I love, love, love creative financing strategies because creative financing strategies is how I used real estate to get out of debt when I was in so much debt. Because see, I couldn't just take more debt. Wasn't nobody going to loan anything to a girl who's got $845,000 of debt. All right. Single military mom. And living in the South. Let's be real. Single military black mom living in the South. Nobody's going to loan to me, but I had bills to pay and I needed to get out of this debt by the time I retired from the military. That was my goal, y'all. And so when it comes to creative strategies, there's a couple of different strategies that I really love. So aside from a conventional mortgage, there's a thing called owner financing. And this is where you are still getting a mortgage. It's still a mortgage, okay? But it's executed with the owner instead of a bank. And the benefit to a lot of people with working directly with an owner is that if you build a relationship with the owner and they trust you and they know you, they will be able to give you more favorable terms and with less rigmarole than what the banks entail. Okay. Now, there are some cases in which owner financing requires a higher payment or might require additional issues, but generally speaking is going to be with less interest rate. Okay. Yeah, isn't this such a great question? Oh my goodness, I love this question. Okay, so the very first technique would be owner financing. This is where you find a property where you can build rapport with the owner and get them to give you a favorable terms that work for you and for them. Okay, the next strategy that I want to talk about, is a lease option. Now, lease option is very interesting because you're not actually buying the house right away, but what you are buying is you are buying an option to buy the house later. So if your credit is really bad and you're trying to clean things up, you've just gotten out of a bad divorce or your spouse died and you lost your job for COVID and things just got gunked up. Okay. Whatever the situation was, that if you had a year or 2 or 3 to clean it up, you would be all right. Well, you could try something called a lease option. This is where you and the owner come to an agreement that in X number of years, I'm going to buy this property for such and such. And because you're going to hold it for me, I'm paying you an option fee. The option fee might be $1,000, might be $5,000 property. It might be $10,000. But basically what's happening is you are signing a contract to buy this property at a predetermined price, and you are going to rent it until then. And it gives you time to clean up your credit, not through a credit cleanup company. Don't do it. But it gives you time to clean up your credit, and then you can buy the property at the agreed on price. Okay. So that's another great strategy. Now, one of my favorite strategies to buy a property, a condo, commercial, house, whatever it is, to buy a property is what's called subject to. Now, there are some things you have to watch out for with subject to, okay? But the thing is about subject to is you are not taking on a new loan. You are simply taking over somebody else's loan. Okay, so somebody's in a situation where they need to unload a property quickly. You are in a position where you want the property. You all come to a win-win agreement where you take the property off their hands and you simply get their loan caught up and make their payments. A lot of times people will come to you with a property that doesn't have a lot of equity. It's not actually behind, but it needs a lot of repair. And so they can't do the repairs. They need to sell it, but they really need to get this payment off their shoulders. You swoop in, you take over the payments, you make the fix up. It's a win-win, y'all. And then, you can even turn around later and resell that property at a profit because you've done the fix up. I mean, talk about a win-win-win. That's a win for you, a win for the original owner, and a win for the person who gets the house ultimately. Okay. If it's not just you, because that's how I'm going to buy my next house is going to be subject to. All right. So those are some really good creative strategies. And the reason I love this question so much is so many people are afraid that it's too late for them. And if they follow the steps to get out of debt, they're not going to have enough time to buy their own house before they're 50 or buy their own house before they're 60 or buy their own house before they're 70. But these strategies that I just gave you, you can use them at any time, and it doesn't have to take very long. Now, I have a whole class on this in my DART real estate investment group. So you can go to dartrei.com and you'll see the whole class on real estate investing that allows you to learn about these different techniques. And one of those classes, I got a whole class on creative financing. Okay. So I'm not going to repeat that here tonight because it's already late, but fantastic question. Thank you for asking it. Okay. Oh, hey, somebody's here is like, I want to be an affiliate. I want you to be an affiliate. Whoop, whoop. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about my affiliate program. First, let me tell you what an affiliate program is. I guess I should start there. An affiliate program works based on the concept that people are more likely to buy a product if it's been recommended from a friend. So when I post an Amazon link, if you like me, if you know, like, and trust me, you're more likely to buy whatever I post that I'm looking at on Amazon than if you just saw it on Amazon by yourself. And so companies like Amazon and me, we use what's called affiliates. When you sign up as an affiliate for Amazon or when you sign up as an affiliate for JJ Conway, you create a special link. That link tells the company that whoever buys through that link is being referred by you. So, when you post a link to when you post that special link to one of my classes that has your special affiliate code built in and somebody buys the class, in my affiliate program, you make 50% of the purchase price. You might wonder, JJ, why do you always offer 50% off sales? Well, because I'm generally not making but 50% off of it anyway. Because my affiliates get the rest of it because that's the bulk of my sales force, right? So what you get that affiliate link and you post it on your Facebook page and somebody buys into my next class and you get 50% of the purchase price. Easy peasy. Amazon's a little bit more difficult. I have a whole class on how to do Amazon affiliates. I love it. Because it's just like extra money, right? It's just extra money for stuff you were already posting anyway. I'm already posting, hey, has anybody tried this? I'm already posting, hey, this is something, you want to know what little man wants for Christmas? Here you go. Like, you're already posting these kinds of things. You ought to get paid for it, right? That's how affiliate marketing works. And to become a part of my affiliate program, you just need to go to buildingwealthtogether.com and you got to click on the affiliate. It's like JJ's affiliate. I should know this. It's my own site. In fact, let me click there real quick and let me see if I can find it for you. And then I'll actually share the screen. Okay. So here we are. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna share this screen anyway. Let me see if it'll let me do that. Let me pull that out. And for those of you on Clubhouse, you're not gonna be able to see this, but you can go to my Facebook channel. You can go to my Facebook channel. It is facebook.com/DRJJ Conway. Okay, so let me go here and I'm going to share this. There you go. So now you can see my website. All right. Those of you who are listening to this on the podcast after the fact, because we take these questions and we make them part of our Wealth Building Wednesday Q&A podcasts. Okay. For those of you who are listening on the podcast after the fact, you can also view this either on my YouTube channel or you can view this on my Facebook page. But what you should be seeing now on the screen is the classes that I have going right now. You've got the Financial Freedom Bootcamp. You've got the Speakers and Vendors list. And if you scroll down here a little bit, you've got JJ's affiliate program. It says earn while you learn. It's me with a bunch of money, y'all. Isn't that gorgeous? All right. I love this picture. It was taken by Crystal Halpert Photography. All right. It says JJ Conway's affiliate program. You help me, I'll help you, right? It's free course. When you enroll in this free course, I go in there regularly, a couple times a week, and everybody who's enrolled, I activate them as an affiliate, and then I activate them with that 50%. Okay. And so this is one of those things where you don't have any cost. There's no cost. There's no downside to it. It's just you getting an opportunity to earn something from helping me do what I do. Okay. So you can see in the steps here. And again, those of you who are listening to the podcast, you're going to want to go out to buildingwealthtogether.com /P/affiliate. That's the link to it. I'm reading it off the screen right now. You take the course. It's me in a video showing you how to do it. You get the special code, you post it on your social media, and you get 50%. That's it. Okay. And the reason it works is because it's a win-win-win. And I love a win-win-win. It's a win for me because you just spread the word about my courses to somebody else. It's a win for you because you got paid when your friend bought it. And it's a win for your friend because they're going to get life-changing financial information, y'all, that's totally worth their purchase price. Actually, I strive to give so much value. Everything I sell is worth way more than the purchase price. So you can feel confident in sharing those links, especially if you've taken a class and you tell your friends how great the class is. Oh, come on now. This is a great way. And you might say, well, why would you want to give away money like that? Why don't you just sell the classes? I do. I love it. I love waking up. I love waking up and seeing somebody else bought another $500 class. I mean, I'm not going to ever say I don't love that, right? But the thing is, I remember what it was like when I didn't have any money. I remember how humbled I was as a lieutenant in the Air Force when I called into Larry Burkett and I didn't have $8 for his tape program, his cassette tape program to get out of debt. How humbled I was that he sent it to me anyway. Right. And the only thing I had to do was promise to help other people get out of debt. And then I discovered I had a knack for it. Right. But I also remember how humbled I was 10 years later, where now I've come home from this military trip to divorce papers. My house is sold. My stuff is thrown out. And we're $845,000 of debt. It's like 845,000 little voices telling me I failed, right? And then I make so much because by now I've progressed in my career. I'm a major in the Air Force and I can't even get assistance because I make too much money. So here I am in this hamstrung situation that I couldn't find any help. And I tell you what, doing these kinds of affiliate things, that's how I paid my way through a lot of these expensive mentoring and coaching programs that I couldn't afford. I didn't have big bucks to take this person's muckety muck class or that person's writing class. I built relationships with people and I was their affiliates and I earned while I learned. And so I'm always going to make an opportunity for somebody who feels like they can't afford this class or that class. They'll be able to find a way to get into my class because all you've got to do is bring two people with you. And that's why I started the affiliate program. But now it's become an avenue for so many people who've lost their jobs in COVID, or they've had children and they don't know what to do, and they want to be home with their child and they want to make money. And it's just a win-win-win. I'm always going to make a way for somebody to win-win-win. Now, I can't guarantee that it's always going to be 50%. Now, anybody who enrolls now, it'll always be 50%. But I can't guarantee that, next year, as my business grows, next year I may drop it to 25%. So if that's something you want to do, you better jump in now before I change it down, right? So you always get, whatever it is, it's lifetime, right? So whatever I said, mainly because I'm too lazy to go back and change it after the fact. But once I set you up, you're set up. But I mean, I always got to make a way. I got to make a way. I have gotten so big in this business. How many of you remember it was only like 2 years ago? How many of you remember Sundays? And I would send out that Sunday email about how I'm praying for you. I would literally pray for everybody on that list. It was like maybe 300 or 400 people. We've grown so big now. I don't have that kind of capacity. I can barely pray for my elect lady's jurisdiction. I literally don't have the capacity to call everybody on my list out by name anymore. But remember those days. And as we grew, and it's like, well, I can't help everybody for free, but what can I do? What can I do so that nobody is left behind? Because I remember asking for help and people didn't want to help. And I remember needing help and I couldn't afford the help. And I'm thankful for those people that made a way. It wasn't a free way. It wasn't an easy way. They didn't just hand it to me on a silver platter. But if I was willing to put forth the effort, they were willing to drop the cost, or they were willing to erase the cost. But I had to do my part. And that's why I'm always going to make those ways. All right. All right. I wish I could tell who this is. I don't know who you are, but thank you for thanking me. That makes me feel great. All right. Let me see. I think we got one more question. Oops, where is it? Oh, where'd my questions go? I clicked away from the screen. I clicked away from the screen to show you guys my class there, and I don't know where I put it. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it then here we go. Here we are. Okay, let's see. Last question. Okay, I just lost my job. Okay, wow. Okay, 100K to the IRS, making these payments, and they just lost job. Okay, so here's the thing I'm going to tell you. The IRS is something not to be bothered with. Okay. Oh, wait. Let me rephrase the question for those who are watching. This will be our last question tonight, unless I see somebody. Oh, hey, lady, I'm so glad you're on. All right, all right. For anybody else who's watching, next time we do this, make sure you give StreamYard permission to see your name, because then what it'll do is it'll put your picture up, okay? Like this. Like that. It'll put your picture and your name up. And those of you listening on Clubhouse, you can't see it, but you can just go to my page, facebook.com/DRJJ Conway. And then thank you. I love my earrings too. I need new ones. Anybody got earrings like this? Please let me know how I can buy them, because I need new ones. They're starting to wear out. They look great on video, but they don't look so great in person. But please do give StreamYard permission to see your face and name, so you get to have your pretty picture up there on the video. But unless you just don't want to, you want to be anonymous, that's cool. But wait, let me go back to the question. I lost my question. Oh, okay, yeah. Y'all been flattering me, and now I'm all distracted. Okay, flattery will work every time with me. No, seriously. This person has $100,000 of debt, of IRS debt, and they're on a payment plan with the IRS, $3,500 a month. They just lost their job. That is a super scary situation to be in. I want to commend you for asking for help, because that's really, really scary. And I feel my chest tightening up for you. So I want to assure you, first of all, it is going to be all right. The Lord is on your side. He is going to work this out for you. You have to trust him and trust the process. Okay. And so the next thing I want to say on that is that when we get in these situations where we've lost our job and we don't know how we're going to make ends meet, the first inclination that most of us have is to run away from our creditors and really try to hide from all of that. I want to encourage you to run towards your creditors. So run towards the IRS. Give them the documentation that you lost your job. If you have to, every week, send them the documentation of how many interviews you went on, how many jobs you applied for, and let them know that you are doing everything in your power to pay this bill. See, a lot of times, now, I'm not saying the IRS will work with you, because sometimes they really don't work very well, but they are more likely to work with you. And any creditor is more likely to work with you when they can believe you. And so the problem that a lot of us have is we try to tell them about our hardship, but they've heard that from a million people who were just lying. And it's almost in seasons, because everybody lost their job and their mom went in the hospital and they had this and that happen in December. And then in February for the big game, and Thanksgiving because they want to buy new bedroom suite. New carpet and stuff because they want to have their family over for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, there's seasons, and these creditors have heard it all a million times. So you have to be able to show them. But if you will do that, if you will run towards your creditors and you will provide documentation of the situation that you're in, and you will, no kidding, every week or every month, however often they send you a bill, you will write back with, I promise I'm going to pay you. This is my situation. This is all I have to send. And here's what I'm doing to fix my situation, especially if you say you lost your job. Like, if you say you lost your job and next month you say you lost your job and next month you say you lost your job, I'm going to need you to send me some documentation to show me that you're actually trying to look for a job. Otherwise, I'm going to think you playing me. All right. And so that's what we have to watch. That's what the creditors are feeling. And so, I had a creditor one time for my church. We had a church flooded. Our church flooded, and they the owner of the company sent the bill to the wrong address. I had fat fingered something wrong on our meetup group. I had fat fingered the wrong address on a long time ago on our meetup group. And so because we were in the mall, people still found us, right? But the person who sent us the bill sent it to that address instead of the address I gave them, which was a mailing box. And so they sent the bill to this other address that did not exist. And we never got it for like 4 months. We never got it. And so it went to collections. And I tried to explain to them, hey, this is not our fault. I kept calling and asking. And, I'm like, this is me. I'm like, look, I understand we owe you money. If you're giving us a blessing because we're a church and you just want to bless us to not have to pay it, let me know. So this $2,500 bill went up to like $7,000. And so I forget the exact numbers, to be honest with you, but it was a huge jump. And I was like, wait a second, this isn't even my fault. And in that situation, because I taught people how to get out of debt, they weren't budging. They were like, nope, you're going to pay because we know you have the money. I didn't have the money. That was the worst part. I had all those car accidents one after another. So I didn't have the money. So we paid it off piecemeal. But the thing is a lot of times creditors don't believe you. And so you have to give them the documentation that lets them know that, yes, you're going to pay them. And here's the situation and here's what you can do. And I'm going to tell everybody on the line, IRS is the first bill you take care of because they are nasty and they don't ever have a statute of limitations. They can always come after you. All right. So we want to make sure that we take care of that. And then I especially want you to reach out to everybody else. And if you lost your job, you don't have $3,500 a month. Our first priority in those situations is to take care of our four walls. We take care of our house and utilities, our basic transportation, and our basic food. Make sure you have something to eat. Make sure you can get to work and make sure you have a roof over your head with utilities to stay warm in winter. Okay, I'm not worried about you being too hot in summer unless you live in Louisiana, but be warm in winter. Okay, so make sure you have running water. Okay, so those are the first priorities. And then whatever's left goes to debt. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. All right, I said that was the last questions, but we've got this here. Okay. So Parent Plus loans. Ugh, they're even worse than the regular college loans because now it's hamstringing your retirement. Okay. One thing I know in place is a good savings account. So the creative financing questions. Well, the problem is if you already have the home. Okay, so let me summarize the question. Okay, fair amount of debt, found an amazing home, process of getting pre-approved, but doesn't have a good savings account. Okay, and so they had a lot of issues during the pandemic. Didn't everybody have a lot of issues? Now I know some of you were like, oh, I didn't have any issues during the pandemic, but I don't know about y'all, but my business totally dried up during the pandemic. Now my business is exploding now because I took the pandemic time and I built a base, right? Like I said, oh, I'm not making any money. Well, I'm still going to provide value and I'm going to help people through a hurting time. And now my business is starting to explode. But my business is starting to explode. Well, I needed to play catch up. I have made a contribution to my son's 529 plan through the whole COVID. You know, I had all those car accidents and stuff. So we finally saved up some stuff, and then my father died. And you think, oh, well, you're this great financial planner. Well, I am a great financial planner, but I practice what I preach, y'all. And if I don't have it, I don't give it. And I didn't have it. Y'all ever have an accident? The lady who hit me in November, she said, I have good insurance. It'll cover everything. It did not. Out of like $3,500 worth of medical bills that I had to pay out of pocket, it only covered like $800, And so I always chuckle when people don't understand when you have a stack this high of medical bills, you can have good insurance, you can have good savings, but life happens, right? And so what do I do when life happens? I do the same thing I tell you to do. I really do. Okay. But then, and so we were rebuilding from those first two car accidents, and then my dad died, and then nobody really had money to bury him. So then there went my savings again. So, and then I started to build that up, and then we had a pandemic. So I am in the boat with you guys. I just know that my future is bright because I spent the last 11 years getting out of $845,000 of debt. And it is not going to take me 11 years to make the next. I'm on track to hit that 7 figures next year. All right. So we're going to keep that in prayer. But to answer the question, okay, if you already have the house picked out, it's really hard to do creative financing because the house is already there. And unless you already have a relationship with the owner where they can cut you a deal or do some owner financing, it's kind of already there. All of these creative financing strategies are strategies you have to create the deal. And so you have to do some marketing. You have to do some door knocking. You have to do some digging. Okay. So like when we were looking at a subject to deal where we were about to get before we decided to retire and move out here, I was in the process of acquiring a 5,000 square foot church. That wasn't a church I picked out. It was a church that came to me because they needed somebody to take over the payments. They had gotten older. It was too far away and they couldn't do it. And it's a nice little church building, needed some serious fix up, but we were willing to do the work in exchange for taking over the payments and only having maybe 4 or 5 years left on the building, on the note. So if you already have something, it's going to be harder to work the creative process. That's the rub. See, retail housing and the retail housing process, that's where all the money is made for the banks and for the realtors and for all that stuff. The creative stuff, the investor stuff is I'm open to whatever works. And so for me, when me and my husband talk about our next house, there's things that we want in it, but I'm waiting for that house to come to me. I'm waiting for that house to come to me through one of these techniques. Okay. And so the biggest suggestion that I have, if somebody's already got a house picked out and you're already in the process, the biggest suggestion I have is to bank as much cash as you can. I mean, of course, you need to take care of the things that happened during the pandemic, and you got to catch up what you can catch up, and then life happens. And I happen to know this person personally, and their son got married. And I mean, there's just so many wonderful things happened. They launched a new business. So many wonderful things happened. In fact, if you want to go ahead and drop your business in here in the comments so that people can support you, I think people would like to support you. So go ahead and drop your comment. Your business in the comments, and we'll flash it up here. But a lot of things have happened over the last year. And so I would really bank up as much cash as possible. If things don't work out to be able to afford the perfect home, then I would encourage anybody, this person or anybody else, to be open to one of these creative strategies. But again, the creative strategy is not, I go pick out a home and now I'm going to ask the owner for this, or I'm going to ask the owner for that. It's really a process, and I can teach you the process. Actually, we went through it, I think 2 months ago in the real estate class. So you want to look up dartrei.com. You want to get into that class. And there's also a Dart real estate investing group in Facebook that has the archived videos. Okay. Here goes her website that you can go and support her in her quest to recover from the impacts of this pandemic. Now, if anybody else listening today needs to get a shout out, give me some good comments and I'll let you get a shout out too. All right. Because I'm here to help you build your business. But that was my last question. So you better hurry up, because I think I'm about done. That did not come out nice. I'm sorry. That came out meaner than I meant. Like, it's like the words come out of your mouth and you're like, oh, wait, no, that's not what I meant. Okay. All right. I think that's all. Let me go back and check the spreadsheet, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Let me just go back and check the spreadsheet, make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think I got everybody. That's in here for, I think I got everybody who's in here for today. Let me just go back and make sure, because it clicked up on me. Yep. I got that. Oh, somebody wants me to be a podcast guest. You got it. Absolutely. I am all there for you. All right. If you want me to be on your show or anything like that, I actually have in my Calendly. I actually have in my Calendly, Calendly.com/JJ Conway. There's actually a podcast guest inquiry there where you can submit a request, and then we'll have a 15-minute consult to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, because I love being on people's podcasts and I love having people on my podcast, So, alrighty. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. I hope that you all have enjoyed this. I got a lot of benefit out of this. For those of you who may have missed something, in the hey, for somebody who just put in your thing, I don't know who you are, so I need to be able to see who you are so that I can approve this. So go ahead and give StreamYard permission, and while I'm talking about this last point, you can resubmit, and then once StreamYard has your permission, it can put your face up here like that. So give me your face so I can see who you are, and then we'll get your business up there. All right, but in the meantime, while I'm waiting for them to redo that, if you missed something, what we do with these fireside chats is we take these fireside chats and they become the Q&A part of our Wealth Building Wednesdays on the podcast. So if you have not already, you can go out to jjconway.libsyn.com and you can subscribe to the Building Wealth Together podcast. You can also subscribe to the Building Wealth Together podcast on all the major platforms, like, iTunes and Google, whatever. I think they changed the podcast. They've changed it a couple times, but Google and Spotify. It's on SoundCloud. It's even in Ghana now, right? Like in India. Like my podcast is in India, y'all. How cool is that, right? So it's in all these different places, and you can go ahead and catch up on what you missed over the next couple of weeks. All right. Well, they did not respond back. I'm going to flash this up here real quick because I don't remember who this is. And I'm sorry if I know you personally. I don't remember who this is. All right. But hey, there you go. All right. On that happy note, I'm going to say goodnight for tonight. Thank you all for being here. Y'all take care and be blessed.